Hi, my name is Dana Verduzco, and I am a psychology major and a Spanish minor. Um, I chose to take this course as my elective because I've always been really interested in communications. It was actually my minor initially, but I finally decided to change it to Spanish. Um, However, I still remain super interested in the subject, which is why I looked for a communications class when I was looking for an elective. When I saw communicating in diverse cultures as a course, I just knew that was a class that I wanted to take because not only was I super interested in communications, but I genuinely love learning about different cultures, how they are similar or how they differ from ours. I love learning about different people and their experiences as well. I just knew it was a class that I would genuinely be interested in. There are literally so many reasons as to why it is important to study intercultural communication. Um, However, it is personally important for me because I want to pursue counseling once I complete my undergrad. In that field, it is obviously extremely important that I am well trained and prepared in communicating with others. Obviously, the chances of me having a client that is from a different culture is very high. We live in the melting pot, so there are definitely barriers that I would have to learn how to navigate in order to successfully help a client. It is important to be aware of the common underlying issues within different cultures, such as the different stigmas surrounding therapy, which is pretty common in various cultures. And learning all of these things about my clients' cultures would help me better relate to them, better understand them, and best of all, better help them. Um, it has always been pretty hard for me to define my personal culture just because I I just okay, so I grew up in a Hispanic household. I was born in Mexico, as was the rest of my family. Um, but when I moved from Mexico, I was around 4 years old, and I lived in Michigan for a total of 9 years and four in Canada. So then I moved to Georgia when I was 12. So it's a wide variety of cultures that I was exposed to growing up, and they all impacted me in different ways. But I would say that the most important cultural group that I'm a part of is Christianity because it pretty much shapes the rest, everything else. It shapes everything I do. Um, Helping people has always been important to me since I was really young, but I didn't really realize that that was what I was called to do until a few years ago, which really is the basis of most things that I do. I currently work at I work at a group home, and I'm pursuing a career in counseling and really anything in which I can help someone. Um, that's what I like to do, and I guess that comes from that being the path that was set out for me. I guess that would be my biggest cultural group and the easiest one to define also. So, with all that being said, there are obviously things about me that other people might not be as accepting of, whether that be me being Hispanic, whether that be me being a Christian. Regardless of whatever it is, it's always important to always respect people, regardless of whether you agree with who they are or not. And I feel like that's one of the most important things about learning how to communicate with people from different cultures. And again, I don't mean that as you don't have to be going to a different country for learning how to communicate with people from diverse cultures for that to come in handy. I mean, like I've mentioned before, we live in the United States, also known as a melting pot. You're going to come across people that you know nothing about, not just personally, but like culturally. You don't know anything about where they're from, you don't know anything about their experiences. So it's just it is important for everyone to have at least some underlying understanding of how to communicate with people that they don't know, and that the only thing that they do know is that they're completely different than them. Um, and most important of all is just to be respectful of everyone, regardless of if you agree with what they do, who they are, where they come from, whether you like it or not. It's always just important to be respectful.